Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing extraordinarily well. This is going to be a quick one. I just want to run through a huge issue that's happening right now as it's currently June 12th, and we're really entering the summer dead season. Now, if you're not familiar with the summer dead season, it's really what happens every year in the e-commerce space if you're not like a summer niche brand, like a swimwear brand or something that has to do with getting outside, that kind of thing. What happens to most brands during this time of year, right, is that sales go down. And we see this across the board, again, unless you're specifically more of a summer niche brand. And, people are traveling, people are outside a lot more, people are, typically working less, kids are out of school, all this kind of thing. And so we normally just see, right, that sales typically go down. And this is all goes back to four peaks theory from Taylor Holiday, right, where come Black Friday, you have a big peak. Come December, you also have a peak. Then you get a little bit, maybe a little Valentine's Day or something in here, little Mother's Day / Father's Day, and then it's pretty much you got to wait till that next Black Friday peak. So you get this dead season right in the middle here. Now, the question is, because we pretty much are in that dead season, we just had Mother's Day a little bit ago here. We're getting into Father's Day here soon, but we're about to get right into this dead season where there's basically nothing going on. People are traveling a lot, all that kind of thing. So the question is, how can you prevent your sales from looking like this in the next month or so, right? How can you prevent this huge sales drought? So in this video, I just want to quickly go through a few concepts to hopefully help alleviate this sales drought and actually make it one of your highest peaks of the year, okay? So let's go through this. Now, I just tweeted this a little bit ago. We're officially in the D2C summer dead season, the awkward gap between Mother's Day and Black Friday. Here are 5 things not to do, right? So a lot of the time people will actually want to lower ad spend during this time, right? And the reason makes sense. Less people are buying, there's less demand. Typically conversion rates drop a little bit. Of course, ad costs are cheaper right now as well because less people are typically advertising, but also the conversion rate of consumers is lower, so that kind of balances out those cheaper ad costs. So, why should we not actually lower our ad spend? And really the reason is, given our time frame, and this really depends on your sales cycle, but because we have this Black Friday peak coming up here, it actually makes a lot of sense to be acquiring customers right now, really sowing those seeds and then retargeting them either organically or with paid later during Black Friday to cash out on that LTV. So now, even though it is a little bit more expensive depending on your ratio of ad cost to conversion rate, depending on that ratio, it could be a bit more expensive, but it is still worth keeping ads running, keeping your top performers running, and even scaling to acquire customers right now, because in the next 3 to 4 months, you're actually going to be retargeting those same people to get more out of that lifetime value. And now this depends on your sales cycle. Maybe your sales cycle, people typically buy every 6 months, right? So then you should have been doing this a few months back. But for most brands, they operate on a 60, 90, 120 day basis. So as we get closer to Black Friday, you need to actually be acquiring more and more. And really your acquisition cost in your acquisition, you should be getting this many customers, right? And then come Black Friday, you should basically be kind of leveling out and retargeting most of those customers, right? That's usually the most efficient way to do it. Acquiring new customers during Black Friday works, right? You definitely can. You can attract people with your sale, but typically it's not great to have a first impression with a customer under the pretenses of a sale, right? Typically they're gonna be a lower value customer. And again, though you might be getting a nice volume of customers in, they're buying on a sale, they're going to be expecting that price in the future. Typically, those customers are actually lower value long-term than the customers that you acquire when you're not running some sort of sale or promotion. And so again, that is why we want to be acquiring customers really all the way up to Black Friday, kind of let that peak out, and then really do a lot of organic retargeting and remarketing to all these customers that we already acquired to get them to order again or to get them to order more with our new sale. This is typically ideal because then you get, number one, the high value customers. Number two, you get to cash out on some of that LTV and reactivate them. And then number three, your ad costs obviously during Black Friday are super expensive. And so we don't have to be worrying about trying to acquire all these customers frantically while everyone else also is. And so we don't have to deal with those expensive ad costs. We can kind of watch from the sidelines and just retarget organically, ideally, so you don't even have to deal with ad cost or do a little paid retargeting, right? So that's really the approach here. Do not lower ad spend. This is the time to acquire customers. Your Black Friday success is really determined from however long your sales cycles is up to Black Friday, right? Because if you have a 120-day sales cycle from that first to second purchase, again, then we want to time that out with Black Friday. But in general, just keep the ads going, keep acquiring customers now. It's when you want to acquire, not later. Reactivate them during more of those holiday seasons, okay? Perfect. So the second thing I talk about here is don't run some sort of sale or some sort of clear out unless you really have to right now, unless you're sitting on way too much inventory, unless you really need the cash flow. In general, that's a okay way to attract customers. Again, in general, we don't want to be acquiring customers under the pretense that we have a cheaper product or that you're always going to get a sale. It's not a great first impression. So ideally, to get this second peak here, to get this dead season to have a peak, we want to do a more intelligent promotion, something more like a store credit, right? Where new customers that come into the store for the first time get maybe a $20, a $30 store credit on their first purchase, so they can use that towards their next purchase. Doing something more like that, doing a limited edition product run where you do a summer edition of whatever you sell, different color, different flavor, different style, doesn't matter. Do something more seasonal, right? People are vacationing more, people are outside more. You can leverage people's kind of buying behaviors during this season and orient a limited edition or limited run product for the season to also get a nice little peak. People love products that are scarce, so make it a scarce product, make it limited time seasonal, and that's another easy way to get a lot more customers in. Of course, that's harder to do than like a little store credit, but that's another strategy that you can use. Obviously, cross sells, bundles, introducing new bundles, introducing subscriptions, introducing a more robust loyalty program during this season can also get you a little bit better peak when it comes to the sales. But I would highly recommend also looking at doing a brand holiday, which is actually the next point here. So again, I just kind of talked about seasonal angles, right? So again, customers are in a different mindset in the summer. Less work, kids are out of school, travel, fun, sun, all that good stuff. So we want to actually be orienting our product to help them have that fun, to help them travel, to help them have whatever some experience they're looking to have, whatever way that your product provides. So if you're selling a CPG, consumer packaged goods snack, that should be a travel snack. That should be a snack for going to the beach, for going to the mountains, whatever they're doing, going to Europe. That should be how that's presented, right? If you're selling wallets, right? This is your new travel wallet. This is the best wallet for summer. Reorient yourself, right? Footwear, apparel, jewelry. Again, orient it seasonally to the consumer's current desires and what's on their mind, which again is typically going to be travel, getting outside, all that good stuff. Reorient your ad angles as consumer behavior changes, okay? Very, very simple there. All right, so the next one is creating actually a brand holiday. So imagine Prime Day, right? Creating your own brand holiday. Now is a really good time to start building out a brand holiday. What does that mean? It's just a seasonal event that you do every year where you have some sort of promotion. Again, not necessarily a sale, can just be store credit, can just be bundles, can just be a more robust loyalty program where people get a lot of points, store credit when they purchase with you, different things like that. You can have activated during this time, create a 14 day holiday, brand holiday during this period, and then just watch the sales come in, right? So you can do a 5 to 7 day launch where you say, hey, we have something special coming soon, do an email flow, do an Instagram organic post flow, do an ad flow to this holiday, and then release the offer, and then just watch those sales come in, okay? So this is too niche dependent for me to really provide you more insights than that, but I would look at some different brand holidays like Prime Day, where people have different promotions, loyalty incentives, point incentives, store credit incentives, free gifts that they do to create these kind of brand holidays. That's a great way to also maintain this peak. And of course, the first year is not going to probably do that well. You're probably going to have a nice little bump, but as you keep doing it every year, people from last year will remember it and be like, oh, I totally missed that last year. I need to do this year. It will continue to build over time, and eventually it'll probably actually overtake your Black Friday and winter sales, okay? So creating a brand holiday now, starting now, just getting that ball rolling is a great thing to do. And in the long term, you're gonna be so happy you did it, because then you'll never have to deal with this drought again, okay? So let's get into the next one here, which is cutting creative production, right? So we just had the Meta Summit meeting, which is basically where all the Meta execs, all the big agencies, all the big players and brands in the space congregate, and Meta talks about the new tech, the new advertising targeting, really what the future looks like for the platform. This year, nothing new happened. They introduced Performance 5, so they're talking more about how creative does the targeting. It's getting way more automated, even more so on the targeting front, on the audience selection front, on the placement front. So all that means is really it's going to turn into one-click advertising where all you do is upload some creative, maybe some headlines, some URLs to landing pages, and the targeting, the placements, and everything else will be figured out for you, which means what leverage do you have? The product, obviously, the offer, obviously, but the creative and the angles in which you present the product and the offer, right? So now is definitely not the time to cut for creative production. Even though consumer buy may be less, it's the time to actually bolster your creative team, build out your creative systems when it comes to the graphic design, product photography, product video, UGC creation, product brand storytelling. All your creative should be bolstered during this time, during the summer. And this is really the time to do it, just because you can get really prepped for Black Friday, figure out which angles and creatives are performing right now, evergreen, and then you can really scale those when the time comes to do that and when the demand rises, okay? So definitely not the time to cut creative production. Should actually be investing more now than ever, as the future looks more and more like a creative one, okay? So I hope this makes sense. I hope this provided some value today. If you have any questions about any of these things when it comes to trying to mitigate your summer dead season, let me know. I'll definitely help you out in the comments below. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy some sun, have some fun, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.